Hi, welcome back to the video. Richard here, welcome back to the channel, should I say. Richard here, and today it is a real quick video on what you should do, or what I like to do when I get a camera for the first time, whether it be a brand new one or a second-hand one. Just setting up the menus, doing some resets, just things like that. So hopefully you'll find this useful, maybe the odd thing in there that you haven't thought about. So, but first up, my name's Richard, welcome back to the channel. I'm a photographer based in the south of England. And this is my YouTube channel about things that I share with everyone to make sure or just to see if they get some use out of it. You might find something useful in these little videos I'm doing. So like I say, today, I do need my glasses for this one. Today is all about getting a new camera, whether that be new or secondhand, and what to do with it. So let's start right in. So the first thing that I do is I always make sure that I keep the box and the things that I don't use safe. So I'm going to show you some stuff in here that is still, I've had this camera now for, this is the R6. And I've had this camera for at least 2 years. Can't remember exactly. I got it just after COVID, so it's at least 2 years. And I'm going to show you what I do with this stuff that I don't use, because if you keep it safe, you keep the box safe when you want to resell things, it goes a hell of a long way to getting you a better price, because it's much more saleable to somebody, like if you sell it back to a company or MBP or Part Cameras or Part Exchanger, that kind of thing. So I keep the manual. This manual is a tiny bit wrinkly, but it has never been opened. You know, it's never been thumbed through, so it is, apart from being a bit wavy, it's essentially brand new. I have the lead still as it came, because I have chargers and leads from other cameras, so I do not need to use this one. And on that note, here is the charger, still in its bag. The sellotape's come undone, but still wrapped up in its bag. Brand new, never been used. So that's there. And I also have, because I never use them, I also have the strap. Again, never used, still sealed in its bag. So if someone was to buy this camera off me now, all of that stuff is brand spanking new. And there is one other lead that I think is used if you're in a different country or different currency, different electricity points, like America or something like that. So I'm gonna just chuck all this stuff back in the box, and I'm going to put the box to one side so that it doesn't get in my way, because I don't really need it. So all in the box, so I can package this up almost as if it was brand new when it went on to somebody else. Oh, I also have I'm still using this because I still have a couple of EF lenses that I need for work, so that is also can be boxed up as well if I want to sell. I've got a loft full of boxes that are full of boxes like this, that if I ever want to sell any of my gear, I've got everything. So I'm just going to put this out the way so it doesn't get in the way. So the first thing, I've got an iPad here just again for some reminders, because I will forget something if I don't have some notes written down. So like I say, keep all that safe, know where you got it, so when you want to come and resell it, you can easily move it on. Now, the couple of things that I check first when I get the camera is, or a couple of things that I do first is, if it's new, I just check the firmware and make sure that it's updated to the most recent firmware, and that firmware has been out for a few months, because it has been known for Canon to release a firmware and it made things worse. So I'd rather somebody else discover that rather than mess my camera up. So I let it come out for a couple of months. I have done a video that I will put down below that you can see about how to update your firmware. The second thing I do, and this is only if it's obviously only if it's a second-hand camera, and that is to perform a factory reset in the body itself, because you don't know what slight menus have been adjusted in the background, may even remove the copyright information, things like that. The guy before it or the person before it may have done that, but if they haven't, do a factory reset anyway, and then you know that you're back to square one, and you can set it up for what you want to do and for how you like to use your camera. So these are the first things that I do with my camera. Obvious one is do the time and date. You know, that's a simple thing, because you want to make sure that everything is, check the year as well, because I have been known for people to not do the right year, and they make sure that, or they put in the right day and the right month, but it's 2 years ago. So check the date, make sure that's all done up to date, and then you can, when you take your pictures, you know you've got the right metadata and the right date in the file. Now the next thing I do is my file type. Now the file type that I have is RAW and JPEG. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure, because I always edit the RAWs, but I think if I'm if I want to do something out in the field and I want to put something out on social media, I might just be able to pick up the JPEG or use the JPEG that transfers over from the memory card or something like that. But I do RAW and JPEG, and I do RAW and JPEG to both cards. The 5D, I wish one day. The 6D, oh Jesus, I had a 5D Mark III. The R6 has 2 memory card slots, and I record RAW and JPEG to both files. Memory cards are cheap. I go with a 256 megabyte card as my backup, and then my number 1 card is 128 gigabyte normally. And then if I ever want to swap that out when I'm traveling, I can put the 128 safe and carry on with the 250 with another 128 or something like that. Save normally the RAW and the JPEG to both cards, and that means that I've got both options if I want them, and I have 2 copies of everything if I need them. That basically means, like I say, that rather JPEG go into one and RAW go into another, both go to both. So that's another setting that I do. I go into the yellow menu setting, make sure that says record to multiple. Now, when I do event photography where we have to go from camera to print in a few seconds sometimes, I do shoot in JPEG, and as a result I just go into the user settings and I have all the picture profiles, and I have a user custom user setting that I just tweak a few settings like sharpness, saturation, that kind of thing, just to make the basic JPEG just be a little bit more punchy and a little bit more saleable once that image is printed within a few minutes. So do that if you're going to shoot JPEG. It's worth messing around. You've got lots of custom ones there that you could do, or lots of sort of standard ones there that you could use, but I like setting up my own so that it's how I like it, basically. Okay, next up is the image review. Now I have image review. This varies for me depending on what I'm shooting. If I'm doing single portraits or something like that, I will have image review both in the viewfinder and on the back of the screen, so that if I take a photo and I don't want to move the camera from my face, I can see the review pop up real quick in the viewfinder, which is great if you want to check for eyes being open or just to make sure it looks okay before that person moves on. But again, tailor it for you. If I'm doing sports, I tend not to do that because sometimes that can get quite annoying popping up in front of your face. I just have it on the back of the screen. So it depends on what you shoot as to whether or not you want it on the screen or on the viewfinder itself, or turn it off because you may not want it at all. Up to you. And okay, the next thing I do is image rotate. What I want to make sure is that when those photos come into the computer, they are the right way around. I don't want them to be that way around, so I have to look at them like that or rotate them all manually. But I also rotate it on the back of the screen, because if you don't rotate it, the portrait photos you take come out as a smaller, so rather than being the full screen, they come out as a thin portrait one in the middle of the screen. But I'm shooting like that. If I'm taking portraits, I want the portrait to be that big, or the portrait's ratio or aspect ratio photo to be that big on the back of the screen, so I can see it in its biggest format possible. So that's something that I change, and no matter what I'm shooting, I always have it that way around, whether it be landscapes, sports, anything like that. The next thing I do is I add lots of things to the favorite menus. So there's things that I do a lot when I'm out and about, things like white balance, formatting the cards, cropping in camera maybe, I don't know, whatever other things I want to select in a folder. Sometimes I put different things in different folders. So I have all those in my favorite menu. I have done a video for that as well, and I'll put the link down below or up here so that you can have a look and see if that's something you'd like to pick up on and introduce into your own workflow. And the last thing that I do really is I set up the buttons and the dials menu, which means I can tailor all of these buttons and all of the dials on the camera to what I want. For example, I have the AF on button as back button focus, but this one next to it, I have it as IAF. So if I'm doing sports with a lot of people in it, a rugby thing for example, and there's say 5 or 6 people in the frame, I have the focus area set, and I use the normal back button focusing, which will only focus in that area, and I'll make sure I put my subject in that area. If however I'm doing a studio shoot and I want to make sure I pick out the eye, I use the other button to make sure that the focus point jumps straight onto the eye, and that's the sharp thing in the portrait, and that is really nailed on, and I like those 2 buttons. For example, and I also change things like, obviously shooting like this, my thumbs are naturally here. I have changed the rate button to the delete button so that I don't have to, I can use the, it's hard to explain, but I can use the rate button and I can delete. So scroll through the ones I've taken. No, don't like that one. Press the rate button, delete it. Press the rate button, delete it. Scroll, rather than having to use down here or jump my thumb around. And I've also got it set up so that when I hit the rate button, rather than it coming up on the cancel button and having to scroll to the erase, it comes automatically up on the erase button, and I just have to press set. I think it's the middle one I've got set to delete. So rate, set, rate, set, rate, set, rather than having to move hands around or having to rotate the dial to move it from the cancel to the erase button. You have to be careful though, because if you do it too quickly, you could delete one you don't want to delete, so be careful if you're going to change things like that, but that's just works for me, quicker in the field, and it's what I like doing. They're pretty much the main things that I set up when I get a new camera, and obviously it only happens every year or two, but as long as I set those things up, I know that my next camera is going to be the same as my old one, which was the same as one before that. And it's just moving from one camera to the other is just seamless for me, really easy. Obviously I'm talking about Canon here, but the principle's the same for any brand that you make. I'm sure Nikon have their own menu customization settings and things like that. So yeah, short video, hope that was useful. I'm not even sure how long it's been running for, but I hope you found that useful. If you did, please click the like button because that really helps the channel, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more photography videos. Thanks for watching.